It's all come tumbling down, as today, perhaps for the last time, we check back in with VTuber agency AkioAIR, who this past week, it appears, has experienced a mass exodus of all of its talents. As now it appears all of the talents, yes, all of the talents, have banded together and said enough is enough. But looking back just 1 month ago, things looked very different, as AkioAIR was preparing to debut 6 new talents, including Chiori Kogara, Oshikuzu Orion, Vixie Gray, Teyra Fenthera, Azuri Delfi, and Princess Nephilia. And so with less than 2 weeks before debut, AkioAIR had shocked everyone with this notice, stating that they have a strict prohibition on explicit content or fan art related to Nephilia, aka Nophi, sharing that she is identified as a minor in the majority of jurisdictions worldwide, indicating that she is under the age of 18 and therefore considered underage. AkioAIR stating here that they had planned to continue on with the debut all the same. This notice then receiving sizable backlash, leading to yet another notice 4 days later. AkioAIR stating in regards to Nophi's Twitter that going forward it will be moderated through pruning, hiding, and blocking for Nophi's well-being, and further that the Twitter account will serve exclusively for official announcements and will not be used for any personal commentary, clarifying further that Nophi will be receiving her legal majority status next year in 2024, and then after 2 delays, finally revealing that the debuts would be on Saturday, September 30th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Meanwhile, with AkioAIR, we had their Season 1 talents, all of who had been missing in action, including the combat medic and nurse owl Athena Nightengale, now simply going by the name of Athy, taking to Twitter to reassure her followers, "I'm alive, don't worry." This real-life nurse then sending out this message a week later, saying, "Due to unforeseen circumstances within my current VTuber company, I will resume my streaming activities on my old channel starting today and rebrand my name to just Athy. I will not have any affiliation with AkioAIR on this account." That tweet then being deleted 2.5 hours later, and as we would come to find out, being deleted under duress. All while AkioAIR, the day before the debuts, would reveal officially that only 2 of the 6 new members would be debuting, those members being Azuri and Nophi, renaming their second group from In Serenity to Akio Water, and releasing a different version of the original song Serendipity, further giving the details on the other 4 members, saying Teyra, Vix, Chio, and Orion's debut date at this time are to be determined and will be released at a later date. Considering the circumstances and health issues, we decided to delay their debut until they are ready once again. So yes, from 6 members to 2, that as AkioAIR began to run advertisements on YouTube. These advertisements running in front of even our videos. And then finally, with less than 12 hours before the debut, everything changed with this important announcement from Athy, clarifying, "I want to announce that I will no longer be associated with AkioAIR effective immediately. I am fed up with all the legal threats and emotional abuse that I and the other talents of AkioAIR have been receiving from the company. There are several reasons why I have decided to leave AkioAIR. Notably, the company refuses to pay me on time, and they have failed to support my projects several times. When I bring it up, they simply string me along and tell me it's not a good time." The final straw, as you may be aware, AkioAIR announced on September 5th acknowledging hiring a minor for our second generation of talents, which I was unaware of until the actual post on Twitter. It reinforces the idea that they simply don't care about the company's talents. AkioAIR has continued to send baseless threats, stating that they will sue me due to gross negligence and defamation. However, the company was the one who initially harmed our image as talents contracted under the company name. They offered an alternative, a way to possibly agree not to sue me. They told me to shut up and do whatever they say, to not stream, to not post, to not talk to anyone. And if I did this for at least 2 months, they'll then give me a new list of demands for me to comply with. I asked them that if I did all this, would they promise not to sue me? Their response, no promises. And saying further, you are not in a position to make any requests. Athy continues, the emotional manipulation and abuse didn't stop there. Our CEO, Jason, that individual individual personified here on AkioAIR's About page kept being hostile and personally threatened my livelihood and career as a nurse. Then, when I resist his demands, he pretends to be my savior, telling me that he's quote-unquote just trying to save me from the legal department. That legal department being all of one individual, personified here, after stating at this point I felt so dirty and disgusted, and it made me realize how manipulative and emotionally abusive he is to me, and most likely not just me and the company. I tried my best to find an amicable way to part ways, but it's now clear to me that at best he has just been wasting my time, and at worst turning me into his personal slave. While the company may be based on a VTubing fantasy, I am a real person and this is real life. I am done with AkioAIR and their professional mismanagement and emotional abuse. That now leading to this document forwarded on to TVS, stating I have been a part of AkioAIR since its founding. I auditioned for the company and accepted their contract because other companies would not let me transfer my indie persona, Athena Nightengale. Since the beginning, we have had issues with getting to debut. It took a year to debut us finally. My contract was signed in June of 2021. We finally debuted in March of 2022. Jason almost did not debut us because of these problems. He started to lose faith in himself and did not want to delay our debuts. Season 1 wanted to delay debuts because we were barely prepared. I spoke to him about it and encouraged him to keep going and agreed to postpone the delay. This document revealing chat logs between Jason and Athy. Jason even apologizing, saying, I'm deeply sorry for what the mistakes we have done, wrongfully estimating when we will complete our live 2D, and admitting even if they had done some indie debut projects before, this was their first time debuting as a group. Jason going on to resist the request to delay the debut, saying delaying like this further only makes us more incompetent on the surface. Later, finally agreeing to the debut as requested by the talents, and saying further, I just felt we messed up the live 2D estimation so bad that it's unfair to drag the talents with us. The document going on, fast forward to October and November of 2022. This was the first time I went on a significant hiatus because during then I was under extreme pressure from my real job and VTubing. And once again, that real job being a real-life nurse. Continuing on, I also started developing mental health issues and had to seek professional help. So I wanted to leave AkioAIR along with another talent, RoaFen, but Jason kept telling me to wait to announce my graduation because it would harm the company image, having two of the talents leave simultaneously. I decided to stay because Jason promised to support more of my projects and even fund one cover song a month at the least. That never happened as I continued to ask for support. Also, on another matter, I wrote, composed, and directed our group's debut song. I did not ask to get paid, but since it was not up to Jason's standards and they lacked the funds to get a proper animator for the music video, the release was delayed by a year. Athy saying here, I just want to address something, but I have been funding a large chunk of my projects lately, and now I don't have any money left to keep funding them with my own earnings. At this point, I'm going to get really burnt out. The document also elaborating, we have also almost always been paid late. Here is evidence of me asking to get paid every time. Jason, would it be possible to get paid soon? Jason even going on to ask how much the payment should be, as just earlier Athy was asking, just wondering when I will be paid next. Jason replying, I'm at Japan now, I'll return on the 12th. The document saying further, he was in Japan for some reason and couldn't pay me. He has managed all of our paychecks since the start and we usually have to ask for it or he will forget. Even earlier, Athy saying, oh yeah, I still need to get paid for all those months last year and for this year and the donathon. Jason replying, I need to get your bank info. I almost forgot to ask. The document continuing on, he sends me payments like 2 to 3 months at a time. Here is some email proof. And now we have Athy planning to graduate. Jason replying to that plan to graduate with, our hands are really tied up at the moment and we can't agree or process your request at the moment. Saying further, however, I must once again inform you that our contract is not an employment contract, therefore a leave notice cannot substitute as a mutual contract termination. As such, requires both parties' agreement, in which we currently do not have the ability to process and therefore provide our side of the agreement at this very moment. Jason then receiving this notice on September 11th, saying on behalf of AkioAIR Corporation, talents Teyra, Chio, Vix, and Orion, along with Athena, due to hiring talents under false pretenses, serious breaches of contract in regards to AkioAIR materially harming the talent's reputation and prospects, failure to pay on time, poor management, lack of organization, and other various reasons, the talents will be ceasing all virtual activities under AkioAIR and their employment contracts be rescinded effective immediately. We thank you for the opportunity you have given us, and we wish things could have worked out better. All the best, the talents. Jason replying, we have determined to rescind our previous offer to peacefully terminate the contract. We are now prepared to initiate legal proceedings against your request for premature contract termination alongside other talents within our company. Jason then giving a list of demands and saying if you refuse the options, we will initiate our legal actions immediately. You will be required to travel to Taiwan for further court hearings. That as AkioAIR is a Taiwanese-based English VTuber agency and would very likely find it extraordinarily difficult to initiate court proceedings outside of Taiwan. After this, Athy would post this message to Twitter, leading to conversations with Jason like this one, saying, I was willing to offer you one last chance to terminate the contract, once more with the legal team, so you won't be into legal hot water, who likes that anyways, but you just had to screw it up by doing actions that directly breaches our contract. You better think of a settlement condition right now, or legal will be serving you the letters. Athy responding, I cannot do this anymore, and Jason responding, if you just want to leave, you should take our conditions. And saying further, you already caused damages, ma'am. I'm already feeling the effect of this announcement. And now we have a very disturbing part of this particular conversation. Jason saying further, one more thing. I don't really know US healthcare system, and I don't know if this applies, but I feel like I have a duty to warn you about a potential problem that this would cause that I spotted. Quote unquote, gross negligence is used a lot in medical related trials and lawsuits, and it's probably the last thing a hospital wants to hear in a normal circumstance. A record regarding a civil lawsuit involved with gross negligence is probably not going to look good for a hospital. If a medical professional can cause gross negligence on other contractual stuff, what is to say they won't do it elsewhere? Again, I don't know if any US healthcare system would have cared, but I'm just letting you know because I'm more well versed on the legal side of things. So once again, Jason, the CEO of AkioAIR, effectively threatening the employment of a real-life nurse. Also, seemingly ignoring any kind of responsibility, saying it's up to legal, not my call. And saying further, this is a legal dispute now that you did the announcement. Saying further, upset is one thing, I'm just disappointed in you. Sometimes you really need to think about the consequences of actions you do, otherwise this is just selfish. And even continuing, stating this is no longer about leaving peacefully, this is $100,000 of damage versus $10,000 of damage situation now. Entirely unknown where Jason is getting that number of $100,000 of damage from a single talent graduating, and certainly not referring to any point in their contract to get that number from. Pushing back further, it was not within your right to terminate the contract anyways. You do know how a contract works, right? You can't just say, quote unquote, I don't want to do it, and nothing bad would happen. Athy stating, you guys were too busy with Gen 2 that you ignored me, and getting a response from Jason saying, as mentioned before, Season 2 is way more serious of an issue than yours. Like, way more serious. Further in document we started discussing the hiring of a minor issue here, but it was short because it wasn't the main reason for me leaving. Athy stating, just let her turn 18, man. If she was 18 when she debuted, none of this would have happened. Jason saying, she still needs a side hustle to earn some money. You are basically telling her she can't stream on a PG-13 platform because she's not 18. Athy responding, but with streamers and gym mates who do 18 plus content, Jason, I talk about hentai a lot. Athy adding, you know, all my friends have been judging me now because of this, and they have blacklisted us. I can't collab with them anymore. This makes me so sad. Jason at this point also confirming that the conversation could be screenshotted, and here Jason once again requesting for Athy to do nothing. Don't tweet, don't respond, don't actively speak out, don't even do it on your old channel. Any activities regarding your VTuber stuff, stop, don't do anything. everything. Further saying to Athy, within 2 months, we'll give you a list of demands then for you to safely terminate the contract. And even adding, or if you want to pay us something like 100,000 US dollars, that'll also be a very convincing argument that they'll drop the case immediately. Once again, the CEO of AkioAIR randomly asking for 100,000 US dollars and still not even with a guarantee that they would allow Athy to graduate. A surprising dollar amount, especially due to this revelation from yesterday. Tortato Art revealing. Not here to make any grand statements. All I want to say is you won't believe how much money AkioAIR offered me for the rights to Athena Nightingale's design. $50. I got lowballed for 50 US dollars, but I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to give her the ability to follow her dreams. And in response, Athy receiving loads of support, especially from other agency VTubers, including Reina-san of Production Kawaii, Lua Asuka of Production Kawaii, FaceConnect CEO Sakana responding with simply this, and FaceConnect's Komachi Panko saying, Athy, you're the bravest owl and you deserve so much more than this. I truly hope things will get better for you. Take care. While Prism Project Shikamina Shino would respond, sending you so much love, Athy. I've been with you since before our debuts, and I'll be here forever after. Upon the release of that tweet, TVS began to receive numerous correspondences, both from other anonymous sources and also anonymous organizations, leading us to eventually join the AkioAIR community Discord server to make them aware and advise them that they should potentially be delaying their debuts and halting activities at this time. Jason then directly responding to us with spreading news and misinformation without proper fact and without proper investigation/validation can be considered slander and defamation in most jurisdiction and states, whether if it's report or not. That then leading to a direct backlash against the CEO and the actual community Discord server. A Discord server that ended up pausing invites almost immediately. This server stating it's not an official server, but a community server built with AkioAIR support, but also with Jason, the CEO, listed as the server owner. As now, at the time of this recording, TVS has been informed this Discord server has been removed, wiped from the face of the internet. Hours later, and with even less than 2 hours until the debuts of AkioWater, AkioAIR would send out regarding our response towards Athena Nightingale's accusation, saying this response is not meant to attack any party involved, but to only describe facts and considerations on our side, so we may paint the full picture for those who are disappointed or angry at our decisions. There are always two sides to a story, and we hope you can hear us out. This document being surprisingly long, but also repeating itself numerous times, stating that Athy had not just one, not two, but three quote-unquote breaches, and turning a lot of heads with this statement regarding payment. Our payments are not paid by the month, but per talent request to save off transaction fees and the cumbersome process that international transactions may ensue. While we have reminded Athy multiple times that we are request-based, we agree that even if it saves everyone some fees and trouble, talents may feel like the last payment was forever ago. AkioAIR once again saying that their payments are something called request-based, a term never before heard of among those viewers of TVS or any of those replying to this notice, but also in direct contradiction to AkioAIR's own contracts, which states for the talents that they will be paid on the first of the month, every month. This statement also saying as long as she, that being Athy, apologizes sincerely, publicly, we will not pursue any legal action against Athy. And so, against advisement, the debuts continued on, beginning firstly with Azuri, and then 1 hour later, Nophi. The talents absolutely doing their very best in this environment to debut, but as it would come to be known later, severely lacking promised assets that was to be given to them by AkioAIR for their debuts. AkioAIR also promising thorough moderation, but apparently not taking the time to ban this particular iconic emote. After the debuts, certain numbers would go under scrutiny. scrutiny. As the day before and the day of the debuts, Azuri had gone from gaining single-digit subscribers to 3,000 extra subscribers the day before and 5,700 subscribers the day of debut. This all despite ads having already been ran and shorts having already been posted for days before. Those subscriber numbers dropping back down into the double digits the day after debut. And further under scrutiny, an almost similar story played out on Nophi's channel. And hours after the debut, Azuri would tweet out, "Sorry guys, no Guerrilla World of Warcraft tonight, not feeling too peachy. I'll see you guys tomorrow." That now bringing us over to Moto Kumakko, taking to Twitter with my experience with AkioAIR's Trainee branch. This statement saying, in early February of 2023, I was selected as one of the finalists for a branch of AkioAIR which was conceived to function as a virtual YouTuber training academy. For several months, I was a member of the Discord server, and this was my experience. As noted by others, there was suspicious behavior in the Discord server, such as Jason having separate voice call meetings with other potential talents that were not related to the audition process, playing games with them, and in one notable voice call I was included in, Jason and other auditionees were speaking cruelly of other corporations and corporate VTubers. During this voice call, one auditionee threatened to dox other people, which was not addressed seriously. Rather, Jason found it humorous. Additionally, important aspects of a functioning corporation, such as a scheduled interview and further auditions, were increasingly delayed to months after the initial intended dates. The pay rate, as initially spoken of, was a flat rate for a set minimal amount of streams and was subject to vary, depending on additional hours streamed. However, this too changed to the point where there would be negligible or no pay directly from AkioAIR at all, and that revenue would be dependent on fan donations. Most egregiously, during this time, I was harassed relentlessly by several fellow auditionees and members of the Discord server for liking specific fictional content. And for context, that being lolly and Shota content, to which my response was to cease communicating with them immediately. I went to Jason with my concerns about the increasing frequency of the harassment. His response was to instead prioritize the harassers with whom he was having non-business related voice meetings and private gaming sessions, and to remove me from the server entirely. He also threatened that legal action could be taken against me for potentially breaking my non-disclosure agreement by mentioning any of the harassment or discussions within the Discord server. I didn't want to post this for the longest time for fear of legal repercussions. However, I am not mentioning any contractually confidential information in this announcement. And next we have, back from the grave, it's Megu, that being Megumi Kuragiri, formerly set to debut as Teyra in the Season 2 debuts of AkioAIR, saying, "I would like to speak out about my experiences within the company AkioAIR. Seeing people start to come forward has given me the confidence I need. I am terrified as I write this, but I will do my best to share my side of the story as one of the talents." Then coming to us with this important announcement and saying, "I made it very clear over my years as a content creator that I cannot stand for injustice. I speak very openly of my concerns about various topics, as my community means everything to me, and I want to share every piece of myself with them." So as things internally were turning sour, it became increasingly difficult to look forward to debuting under the AkioAIR brand and having to present a false version of myself to my community who had supported me through everything. On my application, I have made it very clear that I have a past with not safe for work content and use adult humor. The CEO, Jason, also persistently urged me during the audition process to help him leverage my connection with a colleague from my previous company who conducts explicit not safe for work streams to convince her to join the agency, as he was a big fan of her. There were no signs that AkioAIR was intended to be a family-friendly company during the hiring process. The 18+ requirements for applying were seemingly there for a reason. Hearing others express their discomfort as well about Jason due to his line-breaking behaviors, I couldn't help but grow in distaste towards him and the company. This was not a healthy work environment or an environment that I wanted to bring my original community into. After learning how Season 1 had been treated and enduring the unprofessional and inappropriate behavior from our own boss, I knew I had to leave. AkioAIR has damaged not only their own reputation, but also mine outside of the company. On my personal accounts, I was receiving private messages and questions when joining voice calls. With even my time outside the company being tainted, I couldn't handle it anymore and broke from the pressure and disgust, leading to my exit from the company. That further leading us over to Bunie, formerly set to debut with Season 2 of AkioAIR as Vixie Gray, saying, "I think it's time I share my side of things too. I've been kind of scared and sick, but I think you guys need to know at least what I can share from my side. Please support everyone involved." then going on to deliver this important announcement and giving a content warning of mental health, stating the reason I am finally writing this statement is because of the claims that AkioAIR and Jason regularly made on how they cared for our health and well-being as talents and people. I had issues with AkioAIR from the very beginning of my time there. For reference, just before I signed, my dad passed away, so I was very emotionally vulnerable, as anything good was a light in the dark for me in that time period. Upon being offered a place at Akio, Jason commented on this fact, saying he had heard me discuss this matter and he apologized for my loss. We spoke a bit more before he mentioned how if I took too long, more than a couple of weeks, to sign the contract, I may not be able to join. I asked regularly whilst reading the contract and signing if I could know about who my gym mates were, and was simply told, you can't know till you've signed, which I assumed was normal. Though my concern was whether I would get on with these people, he assured me it would be fine. There was no mention of a minor. I only found out about Nophi's age when I first spoke to her in voice call about a week or so after signing with AkioAIR, and this only came about due to her mentioning being a child to me during this call. I was not happy at this and very strongly informed Jason of this matter and how I didn't believe it was safe for her to be within the industry, especially with how lewd VTubing can be. Jason ignored me and said, we'll deal with the consequences when the time comes. During the process of creating our designs and everything, Jason tried heavily to push me down the British aesthetic route, but as time went on, it escalated past just being an aesthetic, and it got to the point at every turn he'd use it to explain me, my style, and my content. At one point, I mentioned this and got rather upset when he refused to change his ways. I felt upset. I don't mind odd British jokes, but he was being outright discriminatory of me, and no other talent was getting their nationality or race used to describe them or their content. He ended up making me delete the conversation on the matter because, quote, he didn't want others to get the wrong idea. Later on, other talents and staff tried to convince him to write an apology to me, but a few other talents informed me he was not the one to actually write said apology, as he apparently struggled to write it, as he didn't think he had done anything wrong. A few talents had also mentioned that they had helped, and he had mentioned using ChatGPT to help also write it. With this lack of communication on a regular basis from management, I began feeling my mental health decline. In my personal life, we had began dealing with more of my dad's belongings, and the mixture of stress from both areas was causing me a great decline in my overall physical and mental health. The last straw came in two parts. When we found out Jason had leaked our designs online early for funding for an animation for us, and when Jason finally decided to announce Nophi was a minor. The stress that arose in and around the company during this time for me was making me very sick, and I felt I had no choice but to ask to leave. I was having severe thoughts of taking my own life and everything going on. I was struggling and needed to step away from everything and take a more peaceful route. I had informed management for a while of my declining health, but nothing was really done to support it, minus slightly longer deadlines. As of the 8th of September 2023, I decided for my sake I would leave AkioAIR and handed in my notice. This was not the only reason I left. I was willing to invest my time and effort into Akio. However, I was worried my mental health would be damaged past a repairable point had I stayed. The next day, on the 9th of September 2023, Jason sent me a breach of contract email, informing me of breaching my contract and attempting to leave early. He said if I wanted to leave, he would sue and press damage charges on me. I began somewhat negotiating staying at Akio out of fear that I would be sued, and when I received the contract on what and how I would have to work in order to stay with them, I would be working for unrealistic wages. So I declined. It did not sign to go back. Jason kept upping the damage costs and kept threatening to sue me for leaving and breaching contract. I've involved lawyers to settle this peacefully and nothing came about it, just the same threats to sue. I am tired and still struggling with my mental health. I've had very close calls with my life and believed it was easier to stop than it was to fight on. I am grateful to those close to me helping me through it, but I am so sorry I put that on you as well. I want out of this hell. I am not in a state to pay myself out of the cost of these damages, and I am not well enough to stay. And now we have even more statements. Now turning to Kivi, an English wolf VTuber, formerly Azuri with AkioAIR, and the day after their debut, sharing their experience, stating, I need to speak my mind. You may have noticed that some of my former gen mates and even some from the previous gen have come out with a public statement about their experience in AkioAIR. My experience is shared with them, in the sense that for most, if not all, of the negative experiences were primarily caused by Jason. I do not wish to work with him again, and I hope that this will shed some light as to why. Firstly, the reason why I chose to stay in this company was because of my debt towards Jason for purchasing my computer setup for me, as I didn't didn't have one at the time of signing due to my old one ceasing to function. I felt like if I had to stay because I owed him money, and all the revenue I'd be getting would be going towards paying it off. Jason had been in many of the conversations between us, the talents, at the start, and as such has fallen asleep during those calls to the point that whatever other interaction we had has included him in some capacity. Our privacy had essentially been shattered, and despite the fact that we have told him to leave us to ourselves, he has refused. Due to this, we eventually stopped having group voice calls so that we would keep away from him as he intruded on us as a group many times. This continues on to him constantly begging us as a whole to play games with him, often Overwatch, and would essentially prey on any online talent to get them to sit and call with him, to the point where I have set myself as being offline for months just so he doesn't invite me to a game. Another such case of his questionable personality is that he would make quote-unquote "how dare you assume my gender" jokes, especially when me and the other talents simply wanted to talk to each other and would say we're having girl talk, to which he'd responded that he would get a sex change, presumably just so he could keep talking to us when we made it clear that he isn't always invited. His stance on us as a generation is morbid to say the least, as he has on multiple occasions, with increasing frequency over the past 3 months, said that he sees the Trainee project as a more profitable alternative, and he has stated multiple times that he wished he hadn't wasted money on us, Season 2 of AkioAIR, and that he had used it on something else. Jason as a person is rather discomforting to be around, since he will quickly throw a fit over minuscule things. One such example would be him becoming mad because the model artist, or model mama, I requested had a unique art style, and that quote, the art style would stand out too much, followed by him storming out of the voice call. He continued on being unsettling by cornering me in a voice call meant to discuss debut, and instead of talking about it, he pressured me and told me I should wait at least a year to have a boyfriend, even though he has always said that he believed in talent freedom. Many of the quote-unquote work calls were unfruitful to say the least, as he was more focused on hanging out and having fun than discussing things that we needed to work on for our debut. The delayed debut was circumstantial, yet there were many other such delays that were entirely under their control. These include missed deadlines for assets, animation, art, and the music video. And our trailers were finished practically last minute due to poor management, which likely contributed to the delay in everything else. As the final nail in the coffin, and as a testament to Jason's inattentiveness and disinterest in our well-being, he never showed up to my or Nophi's debut. As before, he was too busy staying up and writing a response to a member of the previous generation and needed to sleep. My debut, being described as scuffed, does not scratch the surface of the reality of the situation. Months prior to debut, Jason would give us ideas on what to do when the debut came, yet never delivered on it. And whenever we would share with him what we had done to prepare for debut, he only criticized us for our ideas, going as far as to say that using slides for the debut wouldn't be good for engagement. Unfortunately, he also never gave us advice on what to do instead on the debut date, and we were essentially left to our own devices, hence it being scuffed. The debut left me emotionally and mentally devastated. After my dad came to see what I was working on and how I interacted with the stream, I broke down feeling like a fraud, as all I had been working towards felt like it was worthless, especially considering the way Jason had treated us this entire time. I should say that I had nothing against the managers present throughout all this. They were kind, helpful, and always looked out for me and my gen mates, both former and current, and I am thankful for their service. And now lastly, as far as statements go, here now we have Wawa, self-described as being 16 years old and an aspiring VTuber. This being the account for Nophi, and now sharing her experience with AkioAIR as a minor. Stating it has been months since the thought of leaving the company first crossed my mind, and after much reflection, I finally gathered the courage to support my friends by sharing my own experience as a talent under AkioAIR. Please note, this document contains mentions of suicide and mental health. Viewer discretion is advised. Giving us the date of December 2022, the statement continues, I had first signed with AkioAIR during a vulnerable time in my life. I had just quit my former job and was struggling with money, as well as having been hospitalized after my first suicide an attempt. It's not something I ever shared with my peers and kept to myself. AkioAIR offered to help me out of my predicament by giving me a spot as a talent. Days after I was discharged, when I was well enough to gain movement, I took the opportunity as a means to support myself and my family. Soon after joining AkioAIR, I realized that I was in a poor working environment. I chose to look past the problems and focus on a positive attitude as I valued what I was promised. Even now, I am learning about things that should have been discussed with me prior with transparency. First, I was told that my gin mates would be made aware that I was a minor prior to them signing any contracts. Comfort of my coworkers is very important to me. It should not have been my responsibility to inform them of such important information. Second, there have been many instances in which I have felt uncomfortable due to Jason's words or actions. I and others have tried to give him the benefit of the doubt countless times, but we could only do so much before our patience ran thin. As mentioned in Bunny's document, Jason wanted their accent to be their selling point, making them feel undervalued and uncomfortable. As a result, I, alongside another talent, encouraged Jason to apologize. He said he could not apologize sincerely considering he was not sorry, and proceeded to write the apology with our help and ChatGPT. The talents would use the term girl talk when Jason tried to insert himself into our conversations. He would respond with, "How dare you assume my gender?" and continue to joke about changing his sex. He would withhold information from us regarding our models or assets in exchange for Overwatch games. When I asked for my model's estimated time of arrival, he told me that I would have to play Overwatch with him before I could find out. I find this behavior to be manipulative. Our merchandise was sold at a convention. We did not earn a single penny. The excuse was that the merchandise was already being sold for very little and quote unquote, I'm broke. I wanted to use a comedic phrase for my promotional teaser. I suggested I love League, as I knew it would have garnered a reaction from the public. Jason refused the idea, but when someone jokingly suggested banged your mom, he immediately approved. I was skeptical, but did not voice my concern as I put my trust in management's hands. Announcing that I was a minor, putting a spotlight onto my age, and effectively inviting unwanted attention and scrutiny. I had to keep quiet while watching people around me turn away, pushing me into a depression. Regarding alcohol, I live in Belgium, where the purchasing age of some alcohol is 16. This includes some soju, depending on the contents. Without telling management, I responded to a tweet to tell someone that I am legal drinking age, first and only tweet that I made in my own defense. I felt defenseless, and this was the only thing I was really allowed to say. Regarding people claiming that I engage in lewd or sexually explicit behavior, making adults around me uncomfortable, and engaging with not safe for work content creators and artists, it is simply not true. This claim was very hurtful for me and my safety. It was also incredibly uncomfortable. I do not and have never followed or engaged with not safe for work artists or art. I do sincerely apologize, however, for not having been more careful in verifying the people that I was following at the time. After it was pointed out, I realized that some content creators I followed at the time made explicit jokes or content. I typically follow VTubers if they interact with my friends, their models are cute, or if I have seen a funny clip on YouTube. Upon realization, I immediately unfollowed and asked my fellow talents to help me in discerning who makes not safe for work content. When the majority of In Serendipity Season 2 left, I refused to leave with them out of fear that Jason would pursue me in court. I was and still am indebted to AkioAIR, unfortunately. The extra risk of a lawsuit is something that I could not even fathom putting myself or my family through, and so I kept silent for a few more weeks. After a while, I started to feel very alone. I felt a significant drop in my mental health due to being scrutinized by the public and the way management made it seem like my friends had abandoned me. At that point in time, I had no other choice but to pretend to be unbothered and move forward with my debut. The day of debut, a statement was posted by Athena Nightengale in which she talks about her mistreatment while dealing with AkioAIR. Jason released a response before falling asleep. He was not present for our debuts. I came to the dreadful but predicted realization that AkioAIR is no longer beneficial for me as a talent, and I was left with two options. Stay in AkioAIR, a company whose reputation is so damaged that no one will ever be willing to support me as a talent, halting any progress I wish to make as a content creator and effectively trapping me here, as I would not earn the money to pay off my debt, or leave AkioAIR with the risk of Jason threatening me. After having put my trust into Jason and then later feeling punished for his decisions, I chose to leave. I will not risk my health or happiness for a company. Above all, I must prioritize myself. I'm incredibly incredibly grateful to my managers during my time in AkioAIR, as they have always treated me with respect and kindness. And now here we have this anonymous document showing off chat logs between AkioAIR and mostly the Season 2 talents. Beginning here with Vixie debating going back due to mental distress from the threats, and speaking with Chiru, a manager with AkioAIR, saying, Vixie, I am just going to tell you that the company is serious about suing you guys internationally, and the compensation will be way more than $20,000 to $30,000 if it goes to court. Maybe like 10 times that according to Yuffie. Yuffie being the talent manager with AkioAIR. You guys probably think AkioAIR do not dare to sue across overseas, or it is not worth it. However, from my understanding, because all 4 of you guys are leaving, the loss for the company is so big, it is worth suing. I really see you as a friend, and I don't want you to go through more stress, so I think it would be best for you to rethink your options. Honestly, just debut and go on like a health break hiatus sounds like the best choice to me. Jason then saying, we recommend you to reach out to an actual lawyer and consult for legal advices before you dig yourself deeper in the hole as you breach more and more contract terms. Vixie Gray responding, fine, I'll stay. I'll agree to staying, but I am no longer willing to communicate to Jason. I will only communicate to you and Yuffie. I'll agree to whatever it is in order to stay, but I'll be taking an immediate health break upon debuting. I'd also like confirmation I can remain active on my other social medias and content platforms, not as a VTuber. The manager replying, I can't promise anything, but I will try to negotiate, because I think they mentioned they will be putting more strict rules on the talents who wanted to terminate the contract or something, even if they decide to return. Like they won't just let you not stream forever. Vixie replying, I actively mentioned being sick. I can't realistically stream right now whilst I'm so bad. Or the streams will just be lazy Animal Crossing weed picking, which I guarantee Jason doesn't want. The manager then asking, do you have a doctor's note or something? Vixie replying, not currently. It could take a week to get, or if it's quicker, I could kill Yuffie, the talent manager, chiming in with, we won't force any collabs, and it is talent's decision to not interact at all. Vixie countering, Jason said I still have to do group collabs with her. That referring to Nophi, the talent manager replying, I think that is what we think now, even group collabs won't be forced. Vixie clarifying, thank you. I do not feel comfortable with her interacting with my content. I was the same with past interactions with minors. I cut contact. I do not feel my content is suitable. Also, I'm 23. It's a bit weird having around a 16-year-old unless it's family. The talent manager replying, no, it's fine. It is planned to be delayed for now. I mean, we have a lot of things to reorganize. Not everyone has replied yet either. Vixie further saying, I don't want to talk with Jason now onwards, and adding, it's been a rough few weeks mentally, especially seeing as everyone hates us now. Makes debut seem a bit pointless. The talent manager replying, if you feel like it's best, if you don't go on Twitter yourself, we can take over too for the sake of your mental health, including posting any promotional videos or images. At the end of the day, company is still a company, and there are obligations that we have to fulfill regardless of what others think of us. I've told you this before, and I can repeat it many times, but you are a very charming person, and that's why you're here. I know it's hard to debut already with all the pre-debut stress on top of the current situation, but those who love you will stay with you despite any controversies. This is also the reason why company is willing to play the blackface and just tank all attacks. Vixie adding, okay, though I don't understand why we're asked about Nophi being put on hold or not if they're not going to account it. I mean this, and it's not against Nophi, but I do not feel comfortable working with her. I used to make porn. I am very explicit at times. I don't want that to be picked up on and spun the wrong way because she is still technically a child. Talent manager replying, that's fine. I mean, she won't be using Twitter anymore too. Vixie replying, this includes stream chats. I will be putting a rule for no one under 18, as I know I can be explicit, not always, but I'd rather be safe. Vixie then going on to agree to doing 16 plus, still saying, but I am not typically kid friendly. And on hiring, Jason was aware I wasn't and knew I would only tame enough to be YouTube friendly. The talent manager also revealing, please don't tell anyone else, but because you've been more willing to talk to us, the punishment will be lighter. That punishment intended for the other members who had expressed their intent to leave. And then we have this debut quote attributed to Nophi and stating, "Banged your mom." But that was not the original plan, as here we have Nophi saying, "How bad would it be if I just kept I Love League?" Saying, "If I outed myself as a showerless incel from the get-go." One of the managers responding, "I don't know if Jason will allow it," but the manager agreeing, "Yeah, it is funny." I can imagine the comments be like, "Oh no." Jason responding, "No league though." And the manager responding, "I am sad Jason won't let you use I Love League." Azuri then almost jokingly recommending, "Banged your mom," with Jason directly replying, "Banged your mom, sure." The manager directly replying, "You allow that but not League," and Jason replying, "Well, I don't want people to think your content will be filled with League stuff, but banging them moms, go for it." That manager then sending this "just kidding" graphic reading, "This kid is marinated in gamer juice." And here now we have Jason pressuring the others to play Overwatch with him, saying, "Dang Azu, you look fine tonight. Want to play some Overwatch with Nophi?" Azu responding, "I will terminate my life subscription." And Jason responding, "Your free trial has not yet expired. You know what? I accept Val as payment too." And here now we have multiple instances of Overwatch sessions being asked for. Not once, not twice, not 5 or 6 times, but over a dozen times here. So persistent that it was noted, I log in 1 second and this man immediately invites me to a group. Unironic stalker behavior. Vixie responding, "Jason on Overwatch, kinda creepy." We also have this instance of Jason interrupting Girl Talk, asking what's happening here and being told, "Girl Talk Jason, yeah, go back, girls only." Striking out his comment of, "How dare you assume my gender?" And the girls then defaulting to some monthly talk among themselves as if to make him leave. And regarding that mention by Azuri of Jason saying that she should wait to get a boyfriend, here we have the actual reactions afterward with Azuri saying, "This guy is telling me not to be in a relationship." Vixie replying, "That's a big no. It's kinda off-putting." Nophi remarking, "Jason, try not to get involved with talent's personal lives and possible challenge." And Azuri responding, "It was so uncomfortable. Like, I don't even want to be here anymore. I told him not to talk about this with anyone else because it's not his place. And he said I'm the first one he had talked to about this. So like, don't go to calls alone with him. Just don't." We also have this instance of Jason forgetting to pay. The talent manager stating, "Jason kept forgetting to pay your live 2D mama the final money, which is why you only got the files now." This being, by the way, September 4th before the original September 15th and 16th debut dates. The talent manager adding, "And if you read the chat logs, I reminded him 5 times plus already and another 3 times in management chat." These next screenshots now leading to the next chapter of this episode. Jason seen saying here, "I have some speculations about Idol Corporation," and even saying, "I don't want to have a text record, just join voice chat and I will tell." And not only speaking about that VTuber agency, but also taking on a parody name of the CEO of FaZe Connect. And speaking of FaZe Connect, here now we have this conversation with one of their editors saying, "Jason, you should give 1 year of Nitro to all of us." And Jason replying to that editor for FaZe Connect saying, "Give us what you know about FaZe and I'll consider." That editor replying, "Bro, I'm under NDA. I can't post memes like I do with FaZe." And then Jason replying, "Tisk, no free Nitro then, or maybe call me maybe." And we have other revelations, as just before the debuts, TVS and AkioAIR CEO Jason would go on to converse with each other in direct messages, Jason inviting 2 other individuals, including this individual, who has been openly tweeting about their frustrations with the company, or more specifically, the talents. Most recently tweeting, "Since everyone is black, then we must be a black-hearted company. The VTuber plan department, fully supported by the company, is a joke. I will file a motion to kill this idiot. The department will be abolished, and this is a money-losing thing." Saying of the talents, "They just want to rely on public opinion and leave it to the law to claim damages. Especially since I am an investor, the company has the responsibility to recover my money. Along with a bunch of crazy people are just arguing about minors. The company legally signed a contract with the 17-year-old artist, that artist stating they're actually younger than that. There is no reason why she can't purchase our services and become a VTuber. Client herself was being attacked by a bunch of lunatics, but she still performed the contract well and did not violate the contract. She did not make any mistakes. Why should the company freeze her and stop her debut to punish her?" Also saying of the leaving talents, they all say they cannot debut because of their physical and mental health, and then they all go back to their previous lives and be very active. "We will still support the artists who were abandoned and left behind trying to debut, and we will work together to produce better results to prove it. This individual having a very interesting Steam page background and going by numerous aliases, including that with Idle Empire, which describes itself as a way to earn skins, games, gift cards, and cryptocurrencies for free. And while receiving anonymous documents from individuals, we also received anonymous information from organizations. This organization being another VTuber agency, and reaching out to tell TVS we had a massive ordeal with them, that being AkioAIR, that we've been avoiding publicly sharing to avoid conflict. The long story short is they attempted corporate espionage against our company. We received an application for our talent auditions from their talent manager. We did not know she was their talent manager at the time. On the audition form, we ask about any affiliations with organizations, which she said there is none. During the interview, our team once again confirmed and asked about her background, and she made no mentions of AkioAIR. We had her sign a non-disclosure agreement, and then we discussed contract, marketing plans, and showcased our models for the generation. While we ended up not proceeding with her, we later found out through various means that our model files and pre-debut plans were being discussed by AkioAIR staff to the Season 2 talents. I was told Jason in particular was being very critical of our assets and making fun of them to the Season 2 talents in private. We confirmed the individual was in fact their manager, Yuffie, based on the voice in her stream appearances and artwork she claimed to draw on her application and portfolio for us. We compared the voice from the stream to her audition video and interview, and it was the exact same. Furthermore, she showcased in her application various illustrations, one of which was this one, which was before it was uploaded here. The illustration was credited to Yuffie herself. Our team has come to the conclusion that it is possible that she was likely coerced into doing this. That then leading to this quick conversation between us and this talent manager, asking, had you recently applied to another VTuber agency outside of AkioAIR, even going so far as to sign a non-disclosure agreement with this other VTuber agency? The talent manager responding, no, and also, I work part-time at AkioAIR. I do not hold any company share. My personal life is unrelated to the company operations, as I can walk away any second. As now, walking away last night, we have other Season 1 talents like Nanoa, tweeting out GG boys and giving us the salute, along with Season 1 talent Kion Dojima, the Cool Dragon, giving us this GG. Athy also tweeting out good games, my furendos, along with Season 1 talent Mew, offering up this GG boys. Having earlier tweeted, I was enlightened by things I didn't know until today. Some of it was infuriating, but not surprising. If it's happened before, it would happen again. But I recall many incidents and exactly when they happened. Mew then setting her banner to the GGs, and now further confirming all of Season 1 is calling it quits, and may now finally be able to move on. And Mew going on to ask, is it my turn now? Turning over to this alternative account and posting important, you will not win. Stating I have wanted to leave the company for many months now. I'd like to bring my experience working in this agency to light as of current events. I would like to firstly address this to the AkioAIR staff, who seem to think that the contract was too lenient, and now we've abandoned them because they were too kind and have to let their talents do whatever we want. During negotiations, they had only the contractual obligations to fall back to, and held on to that tightly. They think that all of us leaving was all about contractual obligations, when this was about trust, a safe and professional working environment, which was not provided. My trust has been breached many times, and for a company that has emphasized so much of how kind they are and how good their contract is, that they had to throw away everything they've built because evil people took advantage of them, and they have breached the contract on their end first. I was the earliest member in Season 1 to have signed a contract and was made a talent manager shortly after auditions closed. They did not have a talent manager. Jason was supposed to handle all of us 5 girls. Finn was not having it because of how she felt Jason's interaction with us was highly inappropriate and his tone was unprofessional. Because of the mismanagement, I had to step up to be the talent manager because I speak Mandarin. I was Jason's quote-unquote favorite, and I was still the acting manager until post-debut, which made me feel more isolated from the girls because I was the quote-unquote teacher's pet. The girls were not as trusting because I I was going to report everything to Jason. We had to make a separate talent server, which did not exist because Jason wanted everybody, staff and talent, to be in one server. He wanted an environment that felt like a college club, where everybody could hang out together and play games. They have a separate management server in which they all speak Mandarin, because only Jason can speak English. Until now, only Jason and 2 managers were the ones who could communicate in English to us. As Jason's favorite, I had the privilege to embark on a journey with him onto another project, which I will not state here because it involves a third-party company, in which he had promised to pay me monthly for being involved. I asked for it in writing so I can have a financial guarantee because Jason intended to bring me on board so I could focus more on my VTubing activities as I was working 2 other jobs at this point in time. He brushed it off, saying the contract was quote-unquote not important, and I trusted him. The project got delayed for months, and I assumed that it was not happening, and with no financial guarantee, I have not prepped for the courses. I had also quit my jobs by then because I assumed that the project was going to come up soon. I had 2 months of unemployment, and I was done because it was still not happening. So I picked up other jobs as I was taking a huge step in life, and life was financially demanding. I have other people depending on me, and I could not afford this. I had since then started to lose trust and retracted gradually from the company and other talents. I have also delayed many projects because I was inefficient in terms of energy and time because I had none to spare, and streaming hours were considered my break time. I could not grow my channel like I was promised. The project eventually happened, and I was still not paid as promised, so I assumed I was not going to get paid. I have put no effort into my role. I was eventually paid very recently after the announcement about Nophi because I said I was going to quit. When I quit, I left a statement with reasons and left the server the project was conducted in. Jason was furious that he had to deal with the consequences of the truth, which made him look bad, and said that I should have only said that I was leaving, not the reasons, which by default make me the bad person for abandoning the project. This is one of the many examples in which Jason cares for his workload and the company more than the talent's reputation and mental health. Regarding the announcement made recently about Nophi, AkioAIR mentioned, quote, "None of our onboarding talents participated in the decision-making process concerning the recruitment of other talents." That statement is false because I was asked to participate in the auditions. When it was Nophi's turn, they spoke of quote-unquote fate because one of the staff members was listening to Nophi's previous live's karaoke stream, and the next day she auditioned. I was loud and strongly against accepting Nophi because they said she was a minor. They were very happy and swooned and excited during the interview. I was furious and appalled. I screamed and my heart sank. There were talks of immediately signing her as it was a quote-unquote unanimous call. Jason said, "We'll deal with the consequences later." I let it be because in the end, it was not my call. I was not part of the decision-making process, apparently. My voice did not matter during the interview phase. I was not paid to participate either. In July of 2023, I was asked to go on a week-long Japan trip with Jason and his mom because there was a meeting with the third-party company on one day of the trip. I repeatedly rejected, saying I can't afford time-wise and financial-wise. I was also under a lot of stress because I was preparing for something important in my life. I was repeatedly asked again and again, and I felt really pressured. I don't know why he was so insistent on this because he asked Noah and she rejected once and he took it. I was confused and thought maybe because he needed someone who could speak Japanese to accompany him on the trip. In the midst of all the stress, something immensely devastating happened to my physical and mental health. I had to take time away to heal and I came back to report to Jason what happened to me. I was not in the right mind and caved and went to Japan. The flight tickets were covered by Jason and I had to pay for my accommodation with some extra stipend, which was not enough. I didn't know whether to be grateful for this opportunity, even though I was not paid to be on the trip with him. The whole trip was awkward because I have never met Jason and his mom prior to this. I didn't know how to interact, and I was not in the right mind because of the event that had just happened to me weeks prior. I was a walking shell the whole time in Japan, and it was extremely exhausting because my physical health was still crumbling. I don't know what his expectation was, but he seemed disappointed that I was not enjoying myself. His mom has no fault in this. She was was a lovely lady. There were many cases in which we were lied to in order for them to get on our good side or to reassure us about certain matters. Jason calls it a white lie. One of the examples is, I have been told by Season 2 talents that Jason told them the amount that I earn per month. While I was the highest earning talent, my VTubing income did not come close to the amount he said. He told Azu this because Azu was in debt and he needed to reassure her that she would earn a good amount per month after debut. This really triggered my trauma as I grew up in an Asian household where my father used to brag and exaggerate about my accomplishments without my consent, creating really high expectations for performing in any environment. I was told by Season 2 talents that Nophi was not allowed to let viewers know that she knows Tagalog because, quote unquote, C, that meaning Southeast Asia or Southeast Asian, is not attractive and it will tank her engagement during debut. This comment made me feel conflicted. I am from Malaysia, and while I have personally chosen to not reveal my location and accent because I have low self-esteem about it and do not feel that my accent is attractive, Nophi should be allowed to have the choice to reveal that she knows Tagalog. Tagalog is a beautiful language. I can also recall that I was present during the quote-unquote corpo espionage because we were discussing something regarding my project and Yuffie was not a willing participant. I was conflicted and found it distasteful. I did not know that she had proceeded and reached the point of signing the non-disclosure agreement. Jason is obsessed with corporate quote-unquote tea, and his eagerness to report it whenever we have a meeting is something that I have expressed indifference for. I felt extremely disappointed by many things told by the Season 2 talents on what was happening prior to their debut because Jason had promised me everything would be different. During the audition phase, Jason was confident that we were going to tower over Idol, and he went on about how he's learned his lesson from the process in Season 1. During the Season 2 preparation phase, I eventually came to realize that the company was never ready during Season 1's preparation phase, and we were just an experiment to them. The lenient contract did not compensate for the poor mismanagement that we went through. I was promised that everything for Season 2 would be different, and while things were more thorough and managed more carefully with project boards, the treatment and mismanagement they received, especially having favorites, was still evident and distasteful. Finally, I was paid, but never on time. I always had to chase my payments. They said payment is upon request of the talents, which is not true according to the contract, and even if it is, I could count on one hand the amount of times I was paid on time when requested, which was at least 3 to 4 days later. We were also never paid for our merch. We do not have a merch cut clause in our Season 1 contract, and our contract was never renewed. Before leaving, I tried asking for Muse IP, in which Jason blew up on me for asking in this vulnerable time, saying that I don't deserve Muse IP because I've done nothing to obtain it, despite everything I've done for the company out of a talent's obligation and being treated kindly upon. I am grateful for the lessons I've learned over the past 2 years I've been in the company. I am incredibly lucky to have a tight but loyal and extremely supportive community. I wish to completely disassociate from AkioAIR and venture out without looking back. There were many good moments in this company, but the bad memories and the experiences easily overshadow the good ones. Mew continuing on, I'd also like to state that all the Season 1 girls have always known me to be the one who'd stand by Jason no matter what. I've said that I will always be neutral, and now he says that I've thrown him away like trash. You have broken my trust a long time ago, I'm sorry. This is also not the first time all the talents have wanted to leave. It happened multiple times, and it was meant to happen. After all this, you cannot possibly say we have taken advantage of your kindness, so now we can only deal with iron fists and may the best win. I have always stood by you, and you have always wanted more from me. Athy saying further, as someone Mew has confided to in the past 2 years, it broke my heart to see her treated this way, and I wish I could have spoken out sooner. We need to stand up to unfair treatment like this in our industry, or else people will continue to take advantage of our dreams. But at least there's a little bit of humor here in the end. Rebecca Doodles giving us this silly monkey, and Nin re-editing the trailer, featuring AkioAIR Group A, recutting the trailer so there is simply no talents in the actual trailer here at all. And so now the question is this the end? As lastly, we turn to RoaFen, another talent of Season 1 with AkioAIR, who had graduated earlier in the year. Now known as a silly Sphinx VTuber, and tweeting out D has something to share, DMing us and saying, you have my permission to add in anything this gives you. Thank you for covering the company. As now we end with a message from D.
Dee has something Dee needs to share with you, okay? The news regarding the Akio girls, it absolutely breaks Dee's heart. No one deserves to be employed and threatened simply for wanting fair, non-hostile work environment where they're supported as content creators. Legal obligation keeps me from sharing, so in light of the situation, I will release a song I wrote. I had intended to save it for debut, but Ricky's delayed. I don't know when that will be. I hope that the message in this song is healing. I hope you feel vindicated, that you are not alone, Akio girls, in your hurt, in feeling lied to, in feeling wronged and mistreated. You have every right to grieve what has happened to you in this space. May VTubing continue to offer you freedom to feel and create. May it offer you an escape where you can heal from everything that you have been through. It is my hope. May it take you, sweetie, to somewhere there's magic.
Through the pouring rain, you struggle just to free yourself from pain. Take my hand and see, come away with me to somewhere there's magic. You got so far, picking up the pieces of the person you'll never be. So take these lessons you've learned and lessen your burden. Come away with me. Breaking out in desperation, drowning out in expectation. Slowly running out of air, alone with no one there. Here I am, arms open wide. There's no need to run and hide. Come and run away with me to somewhere you can be free. You're lost, I see. Don't worry, you can't see it, but you're surrounded by doors. Where there's a door, there's always a way to open it. Sometimes you just need a little magic.